Welcome to the Profile Corner. In today's video I'll be looking at organizing my clamp collection. I'll be building a cart for the majority of my clamps that I use most often, and then I'll also eventually build a second cart for those clamps that I use less frequently. So here on the workbench I have 2 of my 4-foot long parallel jaw clamps. I have another 4 that can be put up here. I also have several 36-inch clamps, as well as 30-inch clamps and 24-inch clamps that I plan on having on the same cart. And what I'm thinking of doing is having 3 rows of these parallel jaw clamps going across on each side. So that would be one side, and then this would be another side to the cart. And on this side, I think what I'll do is I'll actually have just a few of these longer parallel jaw clamps on this side, and then I'll fill out the rest of the space using clamps that are either the wooden variety that I use on occasion, or an F-style clamp, or a corner clamp, or something like that that I don't use quite as frequently. I don't want to make this cart extremely heavy, because then it'll be difficult to move around the shop. Also, I don't want it to be very large, because once again that'll make it difficult to move through the shop if I've got things in the way. So what I'm planning to do then is to create a cart similar to the plywood cart that I built, except that this one will be about 40 inches long. So we'll have 3 rows of clamps on this side, and then maybe just 1 row of clamps on this side, and then I'll have extra room on this side over here for other styles of clamps. It'll be about 60 inches tall from the base down here, and it'll be 24 inches wide on the inside, which will allow me to put in 12 clamps side to side next to each other of these Jorgensen clamps. The second cart that I'll be building later on will also have to host my pipe clamps, which I've only got a few of those, as well as my steel eye-bar clamps and miscellaneous other clamps. But this cart will be my primary cart for clamps that I'll be able to move around easily. And so I want to get started working on this. I've got some oak that I've set aside. However, it's rough sawn oak and it still needs to be milled down. And so I need to get started on that now. I'm not sure how much I'll get done today with that, but I need to get started on it soon. And I need to get started by first doing a scan of that wood for any metal, because I've just replaced the planer blades in my planer with a new set of carbide tip knives, and I don't want to get those damaged. So let's head over and do some scanning of the wood right now. So this is the first batch of oak boards that I need to check. There's also another stack back here that I'll want to check. I'm not sure how much of this wood I'll be needing for the cart. Some of it may have some bug damage that I'll have to cut around. And also, there's some curvature in these boards end to end that I may have to cut out. And so that may affect how much actual wood I get out of this stack. So we get started here doing the scanning now for metal. Okay, I didn't find any metal when I scanned all the boards. So now what I need to do is try to get as much of the burr hair off of these boards as I can by brushing them down before I start passing them over the jointer. But I also want to take a look at the boards and see if they have a lot of a warpage from one end to the other end. And if they do, then I've got to figure out where I can cut them so that I can get the most yield out of each of the boards. And so it may be that I've got to try to reserve 4 or 5 feet in one end in order to get a board that's usable out of these. And so then once I figure out where I've got to cut the boards, I can cut them at the radial arm saw, and then we can head over to the jointer. But once again, I've got to get the burr hair brushed off of these boards first before I do that. It looks like about a half of the boards need to be cut down in length to eliminate as much as possible of bowing in this direction. So now I'm ready to do those cuts. I need to run these boards through the planer next. I'll do that off camera. I'm just getting ready to start the final pass at the planer here. I need to take off about 3/32 on the final pass, which is heavier than on the other cuts. The other cuts I only made at about 1/16 of an inch. Let's see how this goes with the new carbide tip knives installed in the planer. That's it, 0.768. It's still a little bit heavy yet. Try to take it down a little further. Hopefully that's not too far. About 3 thousandths over. I think that's good enough. Checking one on the slide here. Probably close enough. This is slightly heavier on this side. Let's run a full width pass. Okay, so this is a stack of wood that I ended up with. It looks like it's a fairly significant stack of wood. However, some of these boards have a significant amount of bug damage in them. That's going to make some of these boards completely unusable. Others have a bit of areas that did not get cleaned up at the planer or the jointer despite how much wood I took off. These are all roughly 3/4 of an inch thick, or ever so slightly heavier than that. So I've got them surfaced 3 sides at this point. So what I'll do is I'll take them over to the table saw now, and I'll get them surfaced 4 sides by cleaning up the remaining rough edge. So that way I've got some reference that I can use for the later cuts. I can reference either side of the board instead of just the one side. Okay, so now we need to straighten out this last remaining edge. Unfortunately, over at the jointer, I jointed the wrong edge. Instead of jointing this edge back here that has some bark in it, I probably should have jointed this edge instead. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to use this edge as a reference to clean up this edge, and then flip the board over, and then I can clean up this side over here by taking off an additional amount. I'm using just some clear-cut stock guides on here to help guide the board against the fence, and also to minimize the chances of kickback in case there's binding when these boards are cut. Off a little bit more, but I've got some damage right here that I need to get rid of. I'll get the other boards cut to width so that I've got them all surface 4 sides, and then we'll be at a good starting point for the next video. This video is getting to be a bit long, so the next video will be coming out in a couple days showing the continuation of the build of the clamp cart. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.